Talk to me about your techniques for dialogue, lighting, camera. What's the best approach? And I know every story is different, every film, every project's different. But for the White Lotus, and maybe there are just some general must-haves for you for all dialogue scenes. But we've got a lot of cinematographers out there listening, and dialogue is something we have to do in a lot of our projects. So what is your kind of default way of handling dialogue? And then what were the tweaks for the White Lotus?
I mean, I feel like the greatest realization that I had as a cinematographer is that it's not about me. It's really about the audience's experience of the actors. And that really is how a film lives or dies. How the show looks is not as important as the story. And how the show feels is maybe a little bit more important than, how it looks. So the feeling, the overall feeling is something that I'm constantly chasing and protecting. And as I've worked more and more, I get less protective of the quote unquote photography and chasing some perfectionist idea of photography. And really am I doing a good job on a whole and creating a feeling for this, 5-minute scene of dialogue where it's really not about what the camera is doing. And then within that, within an over the shoulder and a single, how do I create a nuanced version? How do I tell a little story with the camera? And that can be a choice of center punching the actor or going a little bit off, or maybe having the look room on the wrong side of the frame. Quote unquote wrong side, creating an element of tension and uncomfortability between the actors. As if there's some tension that's ramping up, I might ask the camera operator to just slowly pivot over and put the look room on the quote unquote wrong side. That's something that I did in several scenes in the show as the conversation got more and more uncomfortable. And those are things that you shouldn't notice watching it. Those are imperceptible things to 99% of people watching it. And probably you would only notice if you took a still at the beginning of the scene and a still at the end of the scene, you might notice that there's a very slight shift. And I might shift it over and then shift it back. So there's very subtle things that you can do. And then also lensing. How are we seeing these characters in this 5-minute dialogue scene? Is the background, are we on longer lenses and the background is completely fuzzed out? Are we on wider lenses and closer in? Is my T-stop kind of closed down so that the world is still present? Or, sometimes you're in a conversation and the whole world falls away. Is that the feeling, that I want the audience to have? Or do I want it to be wow, what's all that action in the background? And that's sort of part of the scene as well. Do I want a deeper depth of field? So I feel that action in the background, or like I said before, is the world completely falling away? So there's all these very small choices that build to a bigger whole, and in a dialogue scene, once you've sort of nailed down what the blocking is, okay, she's going to come in, she's going to stand here for the first 5 lines of dialogue, and then they're going to sit and they're going to kind of face off. And then, are we going to slowly close in? Are we going to maybe we're doing a 5-minute slow push in, rather than a lens change to cut to a closer shot, so there's all those sort of choices that we're making that affect the greater whole. And as an audience member, you're not going to notice all of them, hopefully, but they're going to help tell that story of what it is that's happening. If that camera pushes in imperceptibly during the scene, it's going to create a different feeling than if you're cutting from a 25 mil 2-shot to a 50 mil to ultimately, a 65 close up. That's going to be a very different feeling than having a slow push. So, those are my approach to dialogue is really big picture, give the actors the stage, create space for them. I think the number one thing that I had to teach myself to stop doing was sort of nitpicking things in the frame, going in and changing props. I very much work with second team. I try to see all of the problems that could arise while I'm setting up. Oh, that the sun's going to hit through that window in about an hour. We might be in that close up for an hour. I don't want to be an hour into the take and then have to come in and have the grips put up a flag. Like I'm going to try to put a flag there, knowing that like once the actors come in, this is their space. So trying to do all of those things to create a stage for them as well. That it's, once they step on and they sit in, it's their time,
You had mentioned you're trying to stop yourself from nitpicking small things. So is that just your natural inclination?
Yeah. I mean, I think that we all do. I mean, I think that to me, it's very important what's in the frame, and how it's sort of arranged and where the audience's eye is going to go. Is it drawn to something that's bright in the background, and if it's drawn to something in the background, there should be a good reason that it's being drawn there,
Yeah.
I remember there's like a really interesting experiment that was done, and I think I saw it on like There Will Be Blood. There's a scene in There Will Be Blood. I think you can find it on YouTube, but it was actually tracking eye movement through a shot, as the audience looks around, and
Oh, no way.
It's super interesting. I think they do more. I think maybe it's more than There Will Be Blood. They do it with several different scenes, but they're tracking eye movement on a screen. And I think that that's something I'm always thinking about. Where is the audience going to be looking in this frame? And if they keep getting drawn to something other than the actor, there should probably be a good reason that it keeps getting drawn there. Those are the moments where I think any moment that takes you out of the story and takes you out of the moment with the actors is really like, you sort of have to reset. You have to like recalibrate. The director, Steve McQueen, said that, he hates editing because every time you cut, you have to the audience has to reinvest in the story, because our human experience isn't an edit, so, and so anything that takes you out of it, it's like, then I have to lull you back into, oh, don't worry, everything's fine. This is a story, and you're engaged, and this is actually, oh, this isn't a story, this is real. So anything that takes the audience out and is like, oh, look at this beautiful shot, or look at this great camera move that we did. If you start thinking about that, then I have to my next move is I have to reinvest you into this as a real story, and you should care. And you're not actually watching your television or watching your movie screen.